Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Unleash Your Potential in 2021 with ECBA. I am your host, Tiffany Yacolino, and I work on the marketing team at IIBA. IIBA is a non-for-profit professional association serving the global business analysis community. A recognized thought leader dedicated to elevating the discipline of business analysis, we provide our global community with relevant tools, resources, and networking opportunities. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Questions tab in your control panel. We will answer some of your questions as time permits at the end of the session. You will find today's deck along with additional information in the Handouts tab. Today's webinar recording will be available for a limited time on our IIBA Webinars archive page within 7 business days of the broadcast. I am here with your speakers today, Bijou Burhanen and Isabel Fair-Waters. Bijou is the Director and Chief Operating Officer at SkillCert Consultancy. He's responsible for business strategy, planning and execution, market planning, competition analysis, and more. As an endorsed education provider and an experienced business analysis professional, he provides best-in-class training through online, blended, and classroom sessions. He also holds both his CBAP and IIBA AAC certifications. Isabel has 20+ years experience building talent and leadership in the workplace through learning, certification, and credentialing programs. She holds a professional certification as a certified training and development professional and a certified association executive. She's passionate about learning and professional development in the business analysis community. Welcome both. In today's webinar, our speakers will discuss all things ECBA, the process, the requirements, study tips, and more by answering some of the top questions we receive on ECBA. So this actually moves us to our first question to the audience. We're trying a new interactive element in today's webinar, so we would love to get your feedback. Please use the link found in the chat, on the slide, or the QR code on your phone to answer our open-ended question, or you can upvote your favorite answer already inputted by others. It'll ask you to accept the privacy rules, but please know your answers are anonymous. Just follow the instructions to star existing answers, or simply provide your thoughts on this question. What is your biggest challenge with certification? Don't feel too rushed about this segment and feel free to respond as you think of ideas as we move through the presentation. We'll come back to it at the end of the presentation as time permits. If you've missed the QR code, the link is in the chat box and it'll provide you direct access to participate. So with that, we're going to jump right into our discussion. And our first question is for Bijou. And the question is, what is the entry certificate in business analysis, and how does it help professionals excel in the field of business analysis?
Hi, thank you IIBA for giving me this opportunity. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and good night for all those all over the world. Welcome, everyone. So ECBA is basically meant for people who are new to business analysis. This certification was started by IIBA around 4 or 5 years before. Before this, there was no entry-level certification for business analysts who are new to business analysis. Okay, there was a CBAP, there was a CCBA, but there was nothing for new business analysts. So the aim of ECBA is to give you an idea about the best practices in the business analysis domain through the IIBA BBOC, which is the BA body of knowledge and which is vetted and supported by the global business analysis community. So what do you get by taking an ECBA certification? Okay, this is a question that I often get. When you get trained on IIBA BBOC using an ECBA certification, you get a head start by knowing the best practice that's available in the business analysis domain. So if you compare yourself with someone who's actually not trained, you have an advantage. Now, the next step is that when you actually go for a job, when you showcase that you are a CCBA, ECBA, the potential employer understands that you have a flair for a business analysis role. You have a flair for building a BA career. So if they find you suitable, other things being equal, of course, I'm sure they will actually pick you.
Thank you, Bijou. I really like that. There's one thing I took away from that, and it was the head start on best practices in business analysis. And I couldn't sum it up any better than that. So that is wonderful. My next question here is for Isabel, and it's one we get quite often, and is ECBA a prerequisite for any of the other IIBA certifications?
Right. Hello and welcome, and I am thrilled to be on this presentation as well, and especially being on here with Bijou, and so I'm looking forward to this. So yes, Tiffany, this is a question that's often asked. ECBA is not a prerequisite for any of the other certifications. It is independent and standalone. It is part of the core certifications at IIBA though. So, this core certifications such as CCBA and CBAP. And really what differentiates them is career progression. So, it depends on how many years of experience you have in business analysis. Now, ECBA, of course, doesn't require any work experience, but you don't need any of the core certifications for the others. So the ECBA is not a prerequisite for any of the others.
Fantastic. Thank you for that clarity on that, Isabel. Moving along to our next question here. This is for Bijou. Would you suggest completing the ECBA prior to the CCBA if you have the work experience? Kind of tied to the question Isabella answered, looking for your perspective.
Sewell or me? Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, for you,
Can I
Bijou.
start? Yeah. Okay. So I've actually seen this happening. Okay, people with otherwise good experience, okay, 10 years, 15 years, who want to appear for ECBA. I asked them, why do you want to actually do this ECBA? Why can't you actually go for CCBA? So the answer that they give is that I've actually not worked on a PA role full time for long, and I'm actually not very comfortable. Okay, so I would like to have a certification which is easy to get, low hanging fruit. Okay, something that I can actually achieve in a short period of time. That's a logic that most people actually have. Sometimes people actually send me JD, or they actually send their CV or their job description and tell me, can you suggest what should I do? And I ask them specific questions. Have you interacted with clients? Okay, some question. Then I would say, I think you are actually good enough, for what CCBA. But still, people actually feel, okay, I will actually go for ECBA, and later I'll actually go for CCBA. And if you ask me, what do I actually suggest? I would suggest, please assess your competency, your profile, your work experience, and see if you qualify for CCBA. Please actually take it. If you're actually not confident enough, again, go for ECBA certification. The call is entirely up to you.
Great advice. So ECBA would be kind of like a more attainable first step, and then you can kind of assess and see where you are. Sounds great. Sounds great. So my next question is for Isabel. And the question is, when applying for the ECBA, what qualifies towards the professional development requirement? Can you shed some insight on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for ECBA, you do need 21 hours of professional development, and they have to have been obtained within the last 4 years. And they also have to be aligned with the BABOK guide. But you've got a lot of choices. So you can do classroom or online work. You can do webinars, and they can be recorded, or live webinars. Certainly you can use conferences, keynotes, and tracks for your professional development. And of course, chapter events. So chapter events include presentations, but they also include chapter study groups. And there are, you know, a number of chapters that do have study groups, and some of you might already be participating in them or thinking about them, but those you can use for your PD hours, as well as self-directed learning. So if you're studying on your own and you're reading BABA, you can use.
Hi, Isabel.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought we lost you for a second there.
Oh,
I think we just
sorry.
lost the last little bit of your answer, but thank you. That was really great summary of what qualifies towards the professional development requirement. So actually building on that, my second question is actually for you as well. And it's, how are the PD or professional development hours submitted to IIBA?
Right. So they're submitted online through our IIBA website, and it's very easy and a very clean process. So you simply log in and create an account if you don't already have one, or a profile for yourself, and log your hours in the BA development log. It's easy to get to, and you also have a certification summary page that comes up that you know, tallies your hours and gives you a little bit of history of information you've put in. The only suggestion is to make sure that you put your professional development hours in closer to when you're actually going to submit your application, because you can't actually adjust your hours after 7 days.
Thank you very much for that. Very, very helpful. So Bijou, the next question is for you. So this question is, I have 15 plus years of experience in another industry, and I'm interested in a transition to a business analyst role. What's the best way to start my career transition? A big question.
Yeah, a big question. This is the uh, uh, largest question, that I get, or most often question, especially people who are actually working in the testing industry, people who have been working as coders, people who have been working in the sales, operation, many other industry. So my answer would be yes, if you don't have adequate BA experience, okay, in all the knowledge areas, yes, the best option would be is to actually go for a ECBA certification, and then look for a change within your organization for a BA career, or if it doesn't work, look for something outside. But this is the largest category. I have very rarely seen people with no experience coming to take the ECBA exam. Hardly 10% of the people are actually those who are actually freshers, or who have just done their engineering, and majority of them are basically people with good amount of experience.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Great oversights there, or insights, I should say. My next question is for both of you, so either of you can chime in. And it's a question we get often, and it's kind of like, where do we find books or resources, information that can be accessed for ECBA?
Yeah,
I
well,
can.
like I can start. Yeah.
I can start from the IIBA website perspective. Certainly on our website, you do have access, and you can find BABOK and other related materials, as well as articles, webcasts, podcasts, and a lot of resources. Some of the resources you're able to access as a member, and some as a non-member, but there is quite a variety of resources. As well, there's also very specific information about certification on the IIBA website. And so that's where you can get more information about the exam blueprint, the competencies for ECBA, all of the requirements, the certification handbooks. You can also find a listing of endorsed education and academic providers if you're looking for study groups. And you can also look at study groups on our chapters page, and you can see dates as well. So we have a lot of resources on our website.
Yeah. In addition to whatever Isabella said, I can suggest, you can look at some good study guides, like Susan Wees. Even though the study guide is actually meant for CCBA and for CBAP, it's actually good enough for ECBA also. It's actually low cost. It's actually quite handy. You can actually look at many websites like BA Times, Modern Analyst, where they actually give you some resource. They have some sample questions. So apart from chapter events and other resources on the IIBA website.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Great tips. I'm going to move forward with the next question, and this question is for Isabel. And the question is, are there any upcoming changes in 2021 to the ECBA exam blueprint? Anything that you want to elaborate there?
Sure. Yeah, this is a good question, a timely question, as a matter of fact, because there are some slight modifications coming to the ECBA exam blueprint. We usually, as part of the governance and oversight of certification, we're always reviewing our exam and our certification and our exam blueprint. And based on our findings and what the industry is telling us, we may make changes. And this is what's happened here with ECBA. And the blueprint is important because what the blueprint does is it identifies the knowledge areas that are on the exam, and it also identifies their weighting or their percentages. So right now, ECBA has 6 knowledge areas and identifies 6 knowledge areas and identifies 4 areas within business analysis knowledge. And these come directly from BABOK. And so what we've looked at and what we're doing is we're removing 2 of the knowledge areas. We're removing strategy analysis as well as solution evaluation. And the reason for that is that those have always been a very small part of the exam. And they're also areas of knowledge that aren't as relevant to somebody who's very new into the industry and doesn't have that much work experience. So they need to be aware of those areas, but they don't yet need to be able to apply them, or it's not expected that they can apply them to a great degree. So they've been removed. The other thing that the industry's told us is that techniques like brainstorming and interviewing are really important to somebody who's coming into the profession, and they need to know how to work with those. So we've just upped the percentage of those just a little bit. So where the exam currently, if you look at our exam blueprint, the KAs, or the knowledge areas, have 75%, are covered 75% of the exam, where the business analysis knowledge is 25%. It's now going to cover 70% and 30%. So there's not that big of a difference, but the focus on techniques, again, is just a little bit higher. And of course, since we're changing the weighting of the blueprint, we'll also have to get a new exam on board. And so effective March 1st, we will be bringing the new exam on board. So if you're writing the exam March 1st forward, it will be the new exam.
Great.
Wow.
Thanks, Isabel. There'll be more to come on that, but I'm happy you're able to provide a little bit of insight to our audience on today's in today's discussion, and IIBA will definitely be rolling out more details on that once those changes are a little bit closer. So thank you for providing that. I'm actually going to move to a poll question right now. And I'm going to go ahead and get that ready. You can submit your responses using the voting tool, and the poll will be open for approximately 1 minute. So I'm launching the poll right now, and the poll question is, Where are you in your ECBA journey right now? Thinking about getting started? I've purchased my application, I'm studying for the exam, or I have my exam scheduled. And I'm seeing answers coming in. Actually, I apologize. There's 3 options. Thinking about getting started, I've purchased my application, and I have my exam scheduled. And I think the majority of our attendees have voted, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results with everybody because we're right at the minute mark. So it looks like 81% of us here are thinking about getting started, and that's a good place to be. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that poll, and we're going to move on with our Q&A here, and we're back with you, Bijou. My next question is, on average, how much time should be dedicated to studying for the ECBA? For example, can you share how much time to allot per week?
Yeah, this is a question that I quite often ask. So when we do some corporate trainings, those organizations demand, that we work out a chart, for them, study plan, and help them follow a particular course of action. So we have done some research as to how much time does it take. So my conclusion is that this is a range. People have a different pace at which they actually learn, but on an average, I can say it is around 80 hours to 120 hours, 80 to 120. Okay, let me break it this way. So if you are working, if you spend 1 hour on a working day, means 1 into 5, and 4 hours on a weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, that becomes 4 plus 4, 8. You should be able to finish this the entire curriculum very comfortably in 45 days time. That's a maximum. Okay, including multiple revision. What I would suggest is that read the book or the study guide or the online resource minimum 3 to 5 times, then start attempting the chapter and question. And if you're comfortable with the chapter and question, if you are able to score more than 70% on the chapter and question, then move to the next stage. Once you complete the entire course, please actually start attempting the test practice. And if you can score more than 70% consistently on at least minimum 5 to 10 of the test practice, okay, or at a mock test, you are actually good to go to take the exam. So I would say maximum 30 to 45 days.
Thank you. That was very helpful. So you're saying between 80 to 120 hours per week, kind of
Yeah,
sprinkled out throughout the week, which whatever makes sense for you during the week, the weekends, breaking
exactly.
down your time.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. My next question is also for you, Bijou, and just given the feedback or your perspective on the dedicated study time, did you want to touch on the areas of focus? You kind of talked about reading through the BABOK, and we've got this chart here that kind of talks about the focus areas. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, sure. See, this is the toughest, part, for someone, who's actually preparing for the ECB exam. When they look at the BIBOC, it's actually around some 450 to 500 page. So where do I start? Where do I actually focus? Do I need to learn all, or do I lean to what is the level of depth? Should I actually go to? This is the most common asked question. So I would suggest, for those who are actually new, to exactly focus on what the exam is actually looking for. For example, this business analysis and knowledge as of now is in a 25%, which means the introduction part is like 2.5%, which is 1.2 question, means you will get one question or two question. Okay, underlying competency again 2 or 3. Business analysis key concepts again 1 or 2. Techniques 6 or 7. Okay, techniques now what I understand from Isabel is that it's actually going to increase. I entirely support this because strategic analysis, these are areas which are actually not very important for someone who's actually starting his career. So I would strongly suggest this solution evaluation and strategic analysis be removed. I entirely support IIBA on that. Now second area is this BAPM, again huge amount of content, but you hardly get some 2 to 3 question. Okay, so elicitation and collaboration 10 question, almost 20%. So you need to actually put a good amount of focus on that. Short chapter, if you actually read this multiple times, you can actually score almost all the questions. Same with requirements lifecycle management, 10%, quite easy to master. Of course, strategic analysis, as I already said, huge amount of content within just 5% questions, which is two or 3 questions at the maximum. So you need to take a call as to whether I should how much depth I should actually go to. Then requirement analysis and design definition. This is a hardcore job of a BA. So you should have a very good understanding about the concepts, including the modeling techniques. Okay, at least at a basic at a fundamental level. Solution evaluation, I would say you can just ignore, because there's no point in actually spending time on this knowledge area and getting 1 or 2 questions. Okay, so if you ask me, this is where you have to focus. Now comes the next important question. Okay, what is the level of depth should I learn? Okay, please understand, ECBA is a foundational exam. You are supposed to have a mastery on the basic concepts, okay, not on the practitioner side, areas. For example, BAVOC is actually meant for hardcore practitioners. Okay, so there are many things which you will actually find difficult to digest because you are not a practitioner, but try to understand things at a very fundamental level. Understand the correlations, logic. So that's what I actually would suggest. This is where the success actually comes from. If you spend too much time on areas which are actually not relevant for the exam, then you'll be wasting your time. Same thing applies for perspective. There are 5 perspectives. You don't have to mug or study those perspectives, because that's actually not part of your exam.
Great. Thank you for your perspective on the focus areas, Bijou. I'm going to move forward to the next question, which is for Isabel. And that question is, where and how do I start my ECBA application? Can you kind of walk us through those steps?
Yes, for sure. So where you start is, first of all, you want to review the eligibility, so you know that for sure. Then you can log in and create your IIBA profile, and then you're ready to pay your application fee. The application fee is $60 US. And then you can enter your professional development hours now into the BA development log. Now, as I said earlier, you don't want to enter those too soon, because you can't edit them after 7 days, but you want to enter those just before you're ready to submit your application. So you've logged in, you've created your profile, you've paid your application fee, entered your PD hours into the BA development log, then you can submit your application. Once you've done that, it's approved, then you pay your exam fee, and then of course you study, and then when you're ready, you schedule and pass your exam. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. That was very concise and a clear path forward. So that sounds great, Isabel. My next question is for Bijou, and the question is reading the BABOK guide enough to prepare for the ECBA exam, or should I take courses?
If you ask me, and reading the BABOK is actually more than enough. But whether you'll be able to read the webbook multiple times is the important question. So you can either use a study guide, which is something like Susan Wees. You can use the study guide, or you can use an EP course. The most of the EP courses, the content is actually carefully selected at an appropriate level of detail, with explanation, with actually practice questions. So both options are actually good. What I would actually suggest is that apart from the study guide or the guides that you get in the market, the IIBA resource, practicing questions is a single most important factor for your success. Means the more number of questions that you practice, the more likelihood you will succeed in the exam, because the content is actually very vast. Okay, and they can actually pick up a question from anywhere. So unless you do enough number of mock tests or practice sessions, you'll not be actually sure whether you are ready for the exam or not.
Thank you. Those are great tips. Next question is for Isabel. And this question says, besides a technical check on your computer, does any special exam software or browsers need to be installed on your computer to take the exam? Are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the short answer is no. You will not have to install anything onto your computer. However, there are minimum requirements, such as you want to have a robust, strong, reliable internet connection. You want to make sure that you've got audio, microphone, webcam. And we certainly, recommend testing on a personal computer rather than your work computer, because sometimes with work computers or company computers, there's firewalls that may block the exam organization, PSI, their bridge software where you can access the exam itself. So really, I encourage you to visit our website. Under certification, you will find the exam information page, and the exam information page will walk you through all of the technical requirements, answer all of your questions, and also give you more information as to what you can expect on examination day.
Thanks, Isabel. And I think some of the items that you outlined are some things that most of us naturally have these days, just working remotely, the strong internet connection and audio and things of that nature. So that's great. Mm-hmm. My next question is for Bijou. And this question is, roughly how long does the ECBA exam take to complete? And do you have any exam day tips?
Yeah, the ECBA is a 50 multiple choice question of 1 hour. So you get roughly 1 minute, for question. So apart from whatever I've actually said before, you have to focus on the areas that are actually part of your exam, and practice. Once you are done your practice, please revise your notes before you actually take the exam. My strong recommendation is that you start your preparation first, and when you are thorough, complete, when you're ready to take the exam, 1 week before the exam, please actually go to the IIBA website, put your application, pay the fees, and then or schedule your exam. Okay, this is what I generally recommend. And take a cool. Don't try to learn new content on the last day. Practice, be calm. I'm sure you will pass the exam. The exam is quite simple, or I would say it is just testing foundation knowledge. So they don't actually give you any kind of scenario, no tough questions. Okay, they're more or less quite simple, things that you expect from a entry level BA. So nothing to worry about on that.
Great. So takes about an hour, 50 questions. Exactly. Tips: practice, and be calm.
Yeah.
Great. Isabel, this question is for you. If I do the ECBA now, do I have to wait 2 to 3 years before I can attempt the CCBA?
Good question. So it really depends on you. the CCBA does require that you have the years of experience, but if you come into ECBA and you already have some experience, then you don't have to wait, of course, 2 to 3 years. But if you come into ECBA and you don't have any experience, you need to wait. Because what happens with CCBA is that you actually need to document your hours of work history. So you need to have and prove a minimum of 3,750 hours of business analysis work experience. And that has to be within the last 7 years. So yeah, it really depends on where you are with your career.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And moving forward to our next question here. This one is for you, Bijou. Are there practice exams available for ECBA? And if so, where can I find them?
Yes. Apart from the most of the good quality practice sessions are part of the EP training program. So if you are buying an EP program either as an online course or a live virtual session or a classroom training, your EP will actually provide this question bank. Apart from that, there are some websites like the Modern Analyst, BA BA Times. Okay, they also have some question bank. There are some um, internet sites where you can find some question, but I'm actually not sure what's the quality of the question, whether they are bang on the learning outcome statement. I'm sure. See, you need to understand something very fundamental, that no one will go out and actually create a question for free by spending his time and actually putting it on the what we call internet. Maybe they'll do 7 or 5, 10 or 15, but no one can actually spend a huge amount of time, put their expertise and actually give away their IP for actually free. So it is a call that you need to actually take. But yes, of course, you have some help. Okay, either through a training provider or through a public resource.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. So various training providers or on the internet, but kind of check your sources and kind of be careful. I do know that there are some sample questions on the IIBA website, but not exactly the same thing as practice exams. So thank you for that insight on that question. Isabel, my next question is for you. And this question is, what is the validity period of the ECBA certificate?
Right, so the ECBA is an entry-level competency-based certificate, and it does not require any work experience, and there's no recertification period, for example. So what that means is that there is no expiry to the certification at all. So the good news is it's always valid. Your ECBA is always valid.
Great, thank you for clarifying that or sharing your knowledge on that. Bijou, my next question is for you. And this question says, what's your recommendation for aspiring business analysts from countries where English is not the primary language to prepare for the ECBA?
Yeah, this is the toughest question I
I seem,
face,
I seem to save
because
them all for you.
yeah. Sometimes I get emails in Spanish, Portuguese. I don't even understand what language it is. Okay, so but luckily, most of the people who take a training, right from Vietnam to Uganda to Mongolia to many countries I've actually never heard about. They know English. Okay, so that is the big advantage. So sometimes I actually feel that those countries now where English is not so popular, they have very limited options. Okay, I understand that IIBA has got exams in Japanese, Spanish. Okay, some languages I have, but if there's a demand, of course, we can actually cater to that. But I think more work has to be done from the IIBA side in actually rolling out programs, for people, from different parts. The one huge area, where I found, where we are actually, lacking is actually from the Latin American countries. Okay, huge number of inquiries actually coming from Latin American countries, but we don't have Spanish or Portuguese. We are not able to actually cater to them.
Thank you. No, that's a great point, and definitely heard from our perspective. Isabel, my next question is for you, and it's regarding the passing mark. So the question is, what is the passing mark or percentage required for passing the ECBA?
Right. Well, this is a great question, and it's asked a lot, of course. So even though we have an extensive pass score study and statistical analysis that's done on our exams, on each one of our exams, IIBA does not provide scores or scoring percentages for any of the exams. And this is actually common practice for professional organizations such as us who have professional certifications and designations. What we do provide at the end of the exam is we do provide performance indicators. And what those performance indicators do is they show you gaps and target areas that can be focused on in case somebody has to retake the exam because they weren't successful, or when somebody's going, into the workforce and they want to look at some of the areas that they may not be as strong on. They can look at those gap areas so they can help to focus on those knowledge areas or business analysis knowledge that is so important for business analysis professionals.
Wonderful. So basically the performance indicators kind of help share any of those gaps and kind of give you a comprehensive feel for your performance overall, and any areas that you might be stronger or weaker on, you get all of that.
Exactly, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Moving forward, this question is for Bijou. And the question is, how relevant do you think ECBA certification is for business analysts in a post-COVID world? Do you have any insights or thoughts about this?
Yeah, we have seen the current crisis that we are actually going through is one of the severe crisis that human race has to actually face in its actually history, maybe in a contemporary history, okay, not too long, okay. In our memories, okay, this is one of the strongest what do you call recession or slowdown. We have actually seen many people losing their jobs or because of slower economic activity. But the positive aspect that I actually see is that many people who are actually working from home, who have lost their job, are actually doing their best to actually reskill. They are actually taking exams. They are taking CCBA, ECBA, every other exam. They are actually using their time productively. They are hoping that things will actually bounce back and we will have a better future. This is the common trend that I have. Okay, regarding is be relevant in the future? Yes, the business analysis skills are actually relevant, ever more relevant than anything else. And people who are trained on business analysis, who have got a competency on business analysis, are an invaluable asset for an organization. I don't think there's any concern on that. Yes, of course, the current times are actually difficult. We need to actually sail through this. We need to do our best, and we need to aim for a better future.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Business analysis skills seem to be more relevant than ever now. So that was a great perspective on that. So thank you for your answer. I'm going to go ahead and swap back to our open-ended question to see if our audience has given us their thoughts about their biggest challenges with certification. So let me go ahead and share that screen. It'll just take me a moment here. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. I'm just going to refresh our results here. And wow. So apologies for the little bit of the delay pulling up these results. So we've got 121 participants. We've got over 1,000 ratings. So this is a great engagement. Thank you to everybody who inputted their thoughts and their ratings. We've got ratings still popping in as we speak here. So it looks like some of the top challenges here, as we can see, biggest challenge is knowing what to study in the Babok guide. Something that you highlighted exactly about it being very, very comprehensive. Reading through the Babok text is challenging, and time is also a huge factor with everything going on, like you said, in the world and family and commitments. Time's very, very precious. And again, this one kind of is another flavor of time. My biggest challenge is finding the time to dedicate to studying while also working a full-time job, managing personal aspects of my life. I can relate to that. And again, another perspective hitting on the Babok, what exactly to focus on in the Babok, because it is so vast. And I will jump down just to one more here. There are still a ton of them coming in, but I am new to the BA field, so I know this is right. Babok can be very overwhelming. So we've got our consensus. The Babok is very overwhelming. So that was great. Thank you to our audience for participating in that. Just going to swap back to the presentation now. I hope everyone is seeing my slides again. Perfect. Oh, yes. Okay, there we go. And now we're actually at the Q&A portion of the webinar. And we're going to open up the floor so we can answer some of the questions from today's audience. So I welcome our attendees to send their questions using the questions tab in your control panel. And I will go ahead and start taking a look at some of those questions. And there are quite a few here, so I hope we can try to get to as many as we can. But our first question here is, do you have any information on ECBA study groups? And either of you can provide your perspective or your answer on this question.
So in terms of information on ECBA study groups, we do list them in our chapters on our website. So you can actually go there and you can see which chapters are scheduled to have their ECBA study groups and when they are. And they are they are formal, so that they go through a series of steps. They'll go through chapters. You know, individuals will work on different areas, and they can focus in on, you know, what the group needs more. We also have our endorsed education providers, and certainly, Bijou, you can talk to that in terms of study groups and various study materials as well. You know, that might be a good segue for you to talk about those.
Okay. It actually depends upon a country. Okay, you need to actually check with your local chapter. Understand, you know, in India there's a very thriving study group, you know, for almost all the AAC, the India chapter is doing a wonderful job. They have, you know, but I'm actually not sure about other countries.
Okay, great. I'm just trying to get through here some of the questions here, and there's quite a bit of it. So my next question is, I'm studying Babok, but it's very difficult to keep track of all the techniques. Do you have any advice on how I can relate to each one?
Okay, now see, the short answer is that you should know the techniques at a higher level. Okay, you should understand, you know, why they are actually used, okay, or what is the scenario, but you don't have to understand how they're actually put to practice. Okay, there are around 50 questions, 50 techniques, and I would suggest, if you can, on the BIVOC, the first 1, 2, 3 topics, I don't remember what they are, on the techniques part, if you can actually master that, then that's actually more than sufficient. You don't have to go in depth as to how things are actually put into practice. That's good enough for the CCBA, or for the or CBAP. If you can understand where is UML actually used, or use case diagrams are used, or domain models are actually used. If you can have a basic idea, it's actually more than sufficient.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is, I guess, a little bit more clarity on the passing mark segment. So this question says, if there's no pass mark or passing mark for the exam, how is the certification granted?
Yes, I'll address that. So there is a passing mark for the exam because a study was done for each one of the exams prior to it being released, and or after it's released, and we do a statistical analysis as well. So there is actually a line, above it you pass, below it or above it you don't pass, below it you do. So I guess the short answer is that we do the statistical analysis behind the scenes, and so there is a passing score, and we do know what that is. But what you get is you get the performance indicators as an outcome.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that, Isabel. The next question is, where can I find the BABOK guide? It is available in many places, and definitely available through IIBA. So I think I'm able to answer that one.
Mm-hmm.
Our next
You can buy from
question.
Amazon also.
Yes, it is available from Amazon, and even from IIBA.org, you can access the Amazon links as well for that. Here is another question. How much value do employees see see for ECBA certified people? I guess the question is, do employers, how much do they value or recognize that certification? Is there any feedback to that question?
Yep. So I can address that. So I mean, how much? I mean, employers do recognize ECBA. We do have a lot of organizations who are, send people through for various certifications. And we do also know that our entry level candidates come from schools and from other areas as well too. And when they go into the workforce, what happens is that they have a certain level of knowledge. It is a knowledge-based exam for the certification. And so at least an employer knows that they're hiring somebody at this level, and they speak the language, they understand the concepts. Of course, they're entry level, they don't have the work experience, but they are ahead of people who aren't certified and who have not gone through the BABOK guide, because that's the other part of it. The BABOK guide is the standard for the business analysis profession. And so, an employer understands that somebody coming with their ECBA has read the BABOK guide and understands a lot of it, and is very aware of the work expected in business analysis. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Bijou, but
Yeah. Yes, I can add to that. See, we do a lot of corporate trainings, for IT companies, and for banks and other companies. So the highest amount of demand actually, comes, for ECBA certification. For their employees, they would say, I want my people, these are people who have been working with the organization for 3 to 5 years. They said, I want, these people to have basic BA skills. So what they do is that they train them on ECBA first. So it's actually very evident that employees, actually put a premium on that. So I've actually seen a few scenarios where premier business schools in India, for their MBA students, they are actually make it mandatory or recommended for them to take the ECBA certification in the final year of their MBA. Okay, I don't want to name those institutes. This is actually an institution wise type that we have. Apart from that, there are we find a new trend, okay, which is those MBA students, who are in the final year, they take the ECBA exam on their own by paying their own money, okay, just to make sure, that they are well prepared when they have a campus interview. So this is a large segment, and I've actually seen, these participants, who have actually taken the ECBA exam. Once they do the campus interview, they said, yes, my what do you call, ECBA certification has actually helped a lot. I was able to actually convince, my future employer that, okay, maybe I have some basic BA skills. And they, of course, said, that this money that we actually spend, it's quite a small money compared to the cost, that they actually spend for their MBA course. But this small money actually made all the big difference. Okay, I'm actually talking about a scenario where in India, where we the employees actually go to the campus and they recruit people mass en masse.
Thank you very much for that, both of you, for that answer, for your answers. This question would be for you, I believe, Isabel. And the question is it okay if the majority of the PDs come from self-directed learning? That question is from Michael.
Yes, for the ECBA professional development hours, that is okay, yes. If we were talking about recertification for the other certifications, there would be a minimum max, or there would be a maximum. But for professional development for ECBA, yes, it is okay.
Thank you. And I think I'm just going to squeeze in one last question. And the question is, I'd like to follow, this one's from Laura, and I'd like to follow an instructor-led training course. Which organizations would you recommend? Oh, and there is one, provider with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could let either of you go ahead. I mean, I don't know about the recommendation, but there are definitely instructor-led training courses. Bijou's organization is one of them. IIBA does have a whole section on our website of EEPs, which are endorsed education providers that provide these. But please add anything additional you'd like to add on to that, Bijou or Isabel.
Yeah, most of these EPs, they have trainer-led sessions. Earlier, before the pandemic, they used to have classroom trainings. After the pandemic, those classroom, trainings are difficult to organize. So almost all EPs, they can actually do some shopping around and select one that suits their budget.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So with that, I would really like to take a moment to thank both Bijou and Isabel for your time and your valuable insights answering these questions. These questions have come in into IIBA through many different means, and they're very popular. And we're more than 80% of our attendees today are thinking about taking their journey. So the information, your experiences were really invaluable. So thank you for that. I will mention that the best place to reach our speakers, Bijou, is through his website. That is skillcertconsultancy.com, as well as LinkedIn. He's very active on social media, so please connect with him on LinkedIn. And Isabel can be reached through email, through our certification at iiba.org email address, or via our website at iiba.org. And I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our attendees for being here today. We'll send a follow-up email to you, so please feel free to respond with. Thank you
Thank
again.
you, Isabel. Yeah.
Yes, please. I'm going to give her a moment. If you have any final words that you want to say, Bijou or Isabel, go ahead right now.
I just wanted to say, thank you for this, and certainly for everybody sitting on this webinar. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and to our, our email, certification at or information at IIBA. I really encourage you to do this certification. There's so many of you thinking about it, but any questions you have, just contact us.
Yeah, thank you IIBA for hosting such a wonderful session. I hope we'll have more sessions like this where we can actually interact with aspiring BAs. Thank you IIBA once again.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us today, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.